Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Anil Thomas. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Hamas airs video of Israeli hostages saying will disclose their fate as both sides mark 100 days of conflict. Israel cabinet set to vote on 2024 wartime budget higher deficit. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar visits Iran to meet his counterpart to hold discussions on bilateral, regional and global issues. In cricket, India beat Afghanistan by 6 wickets in Indore, clinched the 3-match T20 series 2-0. And in soccer, Real Madrid thrash old rivals Barcelona 4-1 to win the Super Cup. Club president Florentino Perez says we played well in both games. Israel-Hamas conflict marks 100 days on Jan 14 with Hamas airing a video showing 3 Israeli hostages it is holding in Gaza, appealing on their government to stop the offensive and bring about their release. The 37-second video ended with an electronically generated caption, "Tomorrow we will inform you of their fate." Hamas said earlier on Sunday it had lost contact with some hostages amid Israeli shelling of Gaza, which it said may have killed them. Of some 240 people seized by Hamas in an October 7th attack that left nearly 1,200 dead, mostly civilians, and sparked the armed conflict, around half were released in a November truce. Israel says 132 remain in Gaza and that 25 of them have died in captivity. Thousands of Israelis continue to call for an immediate return of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza as they gathered in Tel Aviv on Sunday. Despite the pouring rain, families of hostages were joined by thousands in a 24-hour-long rally dubbed 100 Days of Hell. It ended on Sunday night in a Tel Aviv plaza that became known as the Hostages Plaza. They urged Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to enter another truce or even call off the conflict. However, Israeli Prime Minister has promised to fight on until Hamas is destroyed, which he argued would enable the hostage release. Even when the conflict saw completion of 100 days, more fighting has been witnessed despite protests favoring peace. We've already seen US Secretary of State Antony Blinken visit the Middle East the 4th time recently since the conflict began. The efforts are on to pursue the cause of peace and other humanitarian efforts. Trent Murray has the latest from Tel Aviv.
Certainly what the IDF is saying is that it's continuing its operations on the ground in Gaza at the direction of the government, trying to achieve the war goals set by Benjamin Netanyahu. Those war goals, let's just remember, are to crush Hamas and to demilitarize the Gaza Strip. Now, we have seen reports of heavy combat on the ground between the IDF and Hamas militants. We've also heard from the Hamas-run health ministry that 125 Palestinians have been killed in the past 24 hours. So I think there is certainly no indication right now from the Israeli side that this military operation will stop anytime soon. In fact, what we heard overnight from Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, was that he has indicated indicated to Cairo that the Israelis will soon begin a military operation to take control of the Rafah border crossing. Now, you need to remember that is the crossing that connects Gaza with Egypt. The Israelis say for their security, they now want to take control of that crucial border. We know that in Egypt, Hamas has been speaking via mediators there with an Israeli security delegation, which travelled there earlier this week. Both sides still appear quite far apart on any sort of agreement, but certainly for those families of the hostages, they're hoping those negotiations may yield some positive results. We also saw Qatar announce a deal that it struck to allow prescription medication to be given to the hostages via the Red Cross. We need to remember many of them being held by Hamas are quite old and elderly and have medical conditions, and the families here are being very worried about the fact they're not getting their medicine. So seemingly a glimmer of hope that that medicine has been delivered in the past 48 hours. But aside from those two diplomatic negotiations, we're not seeing any sort of positive sign from Hamas or Tel Aviv that they're on the verge of any sort of humanitarian pause in the immediate term.
Well, shifting focus to Russia-Ukraine conflict, Kyiv has asked allies to speed up the supply of artillery ammunition as lack of shells has become a worry for Ukrainian soldiers fighting near Bakhmut. While drones are increasingly influenced on the battlefield, artillery is a mainstay for both armies, and Ukraine is having to balance its use of various caliber shells based on the available capacity. China needs to be involved in talks to end the war with Russia. Ukraine's presidential chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, said after a meeting of national security advisors from around the world in Davos on the eve of a meeting of World Economic Forum. Yermak said nobody has asked him about any compromise over territory during Sunday's national security advisors meeting.
Fortunately, in Malta and today here, there is no the representative of China. We invited, we will continue to invite. For us, important. And we're looking that in the future, China will be participated.
China, meanwhile, needs to be involved in efforts to end the war between Ukraine and Russia. Swiss Federal Councillor Ignacio Cassis said after a meeting of national security advisors from around the world in Davos on Sunday. China was not represented at the gathering of national security advisors ahead of the World Economic Forum in Davos. The meeting of more than 80 officials is the fourth such gathering organized by Ukraine, which Cassis said must pave the way to talks between Moscow and Kyiv on ending the armed conflict. Cassis further went on to say that countries that had a dialogue with Russia, such as Brazil, India and South Africa, were involved in the discussions in Davos and could play an important role. The role of the Global South in Ukraine's peace formula talk has come into focus in Davos.
Sir, success can be measured in terms of the goals you are pursuing. If the goal you are pursuing is to create an international alliance that goes beyond Europe or beyond the West with Canada and the US, but that extends, for example, to the Global South, that aim has in part been reached with 83 nations. China is not included. It would have been an important participation, but we have Brazil, India, Saudi Arabia, representatives of the BRICS who are still in a dialogue with Russia.
After months of campaigning, the Republican candidates vying to unseat President Joe Biden in November are facing their first formal test from voters. And Monday marks the first time Republicans in any state get to have their say, ahead of which hopefuls are busy making their final pitch to caucus goers in Iowa. Meanwhile, weather has proved to be a major obstacle for the candidates ahead of the caucus night, and William Denslow has the latest from Iowa.
As you can probably see, it is freezing cold in Iowa. The temperature's down at over minus 20 degrees Celsius. However, that is not deterring people to come and listen to former President Donald Trump just behind me at Simpson's College, about an hour away from the state capitol in Des Moines. It's the final opportunity for the various Republican candidates to make their pitch to Iowans for them to come out and caucus for them ahead of Monday's vote. The candidates for several days have been busy going all around the state to make that pitch to voters why they should be their pick to be the Republican nominee to face off against Joe Biden in the presidential election later this year. The weather needs to be taken into serious consideration. Bitterly cold, some campaign events over recent days have been cancelled, but as we see here, there's still plenty of appetite for our Iowans to hear from the candidates who are making their final says. And the polls are very revealing as well. We've just had the release of a Des Moines Register NBC News poll that shows that Donald Trump here in the state has around a 48% lead compared to Nikki Haley, the former UN ambassador who holds around 20% of the polling, with Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, down at around 16%. However, of course, those are polls. The challengers to Donald Trump very much hoping that will change. Throughout this race, Donald Trump has really been acting almost like an incumbent. He hasn't been participating in the Republican debates. He's been out on his own, holding his own events. So this vote is really the first chance that voters will have the opportunity to see his name alongside other candidates to make that decision on who exactly they want to see challenge the Democrats in the presidential election. The message here is that despite the frigid temperatures, Iowans are committed. They will turn out to the polls and canvass for their candidates on Monday. William Denslow in Iowa, reporting for DD India.
Ecuador authorities have arrested 6 suspects, including a 17-year-old minor, after an explosive attack on Saturday against police facilities in Guayaquil. These detentions come as Ecuador police and military aim to restore order inside the country's dangerous prisons, where dozens of staff were held hostage by inmates amid an uptick in violence. Since the state of emergency began, the law enforcement agencies have arrested more than 1,000 suspected criminals so far. In Guatemala, the inauguration ceremony of President-elect Bernardo Arévalo has been delayed. With no clarification or explanation, swearing in of the new Congress members scheduled earlier still has not happened. Supporters were left confused while they waited outside the Congress, pushed through barricades and threatened to storm Guatemala's Congress. On Sunday, Guatemala's top court decided that lawmakers from the Semilla party will not take office affiliated with their party but as independents. Arévalo, 65, won the August presidential runoff in a sweeping victory. He won the election on the promise to restore democracy and banish deep-rooted corruption in the most populous country in Central America. Heavy rains in Brazil's state of Rio de Janeiro this weekend have killed at least 11 people. The capital city's streets and homes were flooded by heavy rains, which brought down trees and caused landslides. The metro line was disrupted. Rio's mayor, Eduardo Paes, announced a state of emergency, and President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva's government offered financial support. Colombia's President Gustavo Petro visited the site of a deadly mudslide on Sunday, which left at least 33 people dead and 20 injured as heavy rain slashed northwest Colombia. Petro declared the Medellin-Cuabdo road an emergency zone and announced a $128 million investment in the area.
La concentración de personas que hubo en la casa.
The concentration of people in the house has so far resulted in 33 victims, 10 unidentified. We have to work to find their families, who they were. There are 10 people who have not been found, which is why there is still operations. To all the families of the victims, I offer my sincere condolences.
Todavía hay actividades.
A volcano erupted in southwest Iceland early on Sunday, engulfing buildings in flames. Fountains of molten rock and smoke spewed from fissures in the ground across a wide area stretching close to a town in Grindvik. An early evacuation was carried out for the second time since November amid a swarm of seismic activity in the region, leaving no lives in danger. Authorities built barriers on earth and rock in recent weeks to try to prevent lava from reaching Grindvik, some 40 kilometers southwest of the capital, Reykjavik. But the latest eruption have penetrated the town's defense.
We had this eruption started just before 8 o'clock this morning. It was on the area where we have been expecting it to come, but unfortunately it went a little bit more south than we had hoped for. So it went inside the barriers that we have already built, and then also about 3-4 hours later we had another opening just outside the town of Grindavik.
A white penguin with leucosium was spotted chilling in the icy climate of the Chilean Antarctica in early January. The penguin, normally distinguished by its black and white feathers, was spotted in mostly white due to the leucosm, which is a genetic condition caused by a partial loss of pigmentation of the animal's fur while maintaining normal eye color. The people of Denmark welcome King Frederik X as their new king on Sunday. Frederik succeeded his mother, Queen Margaret II, who formally abdicated after 52 years as monarch. Large and admiring crowds gathered in the capital on Sunday to witness history. Copenhagen's Tivoli Gardens was lit up with fireworks in honor of the new King Frederik X. Dance of the People was the headliner at a special New Year program titled Happy New Year Multicolor 2024, produced by Vietnam Television. The performance featured a unique combination of traditional and contemporary elements. Dance of the People was actually the sophomore release of guitarist Dung Bam, who compiled 11 folk-inspired rock tracks in his album Dancer. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. North Korea tests solid fuel hypersonic missile as the delegation led by Foreign Minister heads to Russia. South Korea along with the US and Japan run analysis. India's Meteorological Department proudly celebrates 150 years of dedicated service to the nation. India bounced back in style, score a 3-1 win against New Zealand in the women's hockey qualifier.
This is Dashrath Mahal or Dashrath Palace, which is thought to have served the home of Lord Rama in his younger days and also served as a capital of King Dashrath.
राम राज्य पूर्णतः 22 जनवरी को वापस आ रहा है। हम लोगों में एकदम हर्ष उल्लास है। जय श्री राम। पूरी अयोध्या मालूम दुल्हन की तरह सज गई है।
राम राज्य के दर्शन करने सब राज आएगा। ये पृथ्वी का ना राजा राम जी है।
अयोध्या में राम जी का भव्य मंदिर, दिव्य मंदिर बन रहा है। ये हमारे स्वाभिमान का प्रतीक है।
Iconic Ram Ki Pedi or the series of ghats on the bank of much revered river Saryu.
राम जी का राज्य था, राम जी का राज्य है, राम जी का राज्य रहेगा।
You're watching DD India Live. I am Anil Thomas. North Korea test-fired a new solid-fuel hypersonic missile with intermediate range, adding it did not pose a security threat to neighboring countries. It said that the launch was aimed at testing the reliability of new multi-stage, high-thrust solid-fuel engines and an intermediate-range hypersonic maneuverable controlled warhead. The test occurred on the same day that a delegation led by Foreign Minister Cho Song-hu heading to Russia left Pyongyang. The missile launch and the visit to Russia come amid growing tensions between the two Koreans following Pyongyang's series of intercontinental ballistic missile launches and its first military spy satellite, as well as deepening ties between Pyongyang and Moscow that have worried Washington and its allies. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is on a two-day visit to Iran commencing today. Commencing on the 14th of Jan, discussions with the Iranian counterpart include bilateral, regional and international matters. The meeting on 15th Jan focuses on the Red Sea security situation, gaining significance amid the Israel-Hamas conflict and the Houthi threat. India closely monitors the Red Sea events, intensifying maritime security operations. Jaishankar's recent phone call with the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken underscores global apprehensions about the Red Sea situation. Cold wave conditions continue to grip northern India, including the national capital, New Delhi. The Indian Meteorological Department, that's IMD, has forecast that cold to severe cold wave conditions are likely to continue over the plains of northwest India during the next 3 days, as minimum temperatures will be in the range of 3 to 7 degrees Celsius over most parts of Punjab, Haryana, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. On Sunday, the lowest minimum temperature of 2.5 degrees Celsius was reported at Ludhiana in Punjab. Dense to very dense fog conditions are also likely to continue over North India during the next 96 hours. "2024 marks a significant milestone in the history of the IMD as it proudly celebrates 150 years of dedicated service to the nation." We've got Tapash Bhattacharya in conversation with the DG of IMD, Dr. Mrityunjay Mahapatra, as he discusses various facets of the organization.
Since 1875, India Meteorology Department has played a crucial role in taking the country forward. And in their 150-year of journey, they have achieved numerous milestones. I have with me the Director General of IMD, Dr. Mrityunjay Mahapatra, to talk about this amazing journey, sir. It's been 150 years and a lot has happened in this journey. Tell us from the start, 1875 when it started, till 2023. How's the journey you see, the way you see, and how now the world perceives India as a major force in weather department?
Yeah, you correctly told, since 1875, it has been a remarkable journey of 150 years. It has passed through many happenings. And basically, being a scientific department, there has been a number of science and technology interventions. While in the beginning phase, from 1875 to 1947, we went on improving our surface-based observational network, and gradually during World War I and II, the upper-air observations with balloons and sensors. After independence, there was accelerated progress of India Meteorology Department, and the first major breakthrough came after independence with the launching of radar, starting with Kolkata, Dum Airport, and then Doordarshan here. Then in 1960, we came up with the application of the satellite technology when US launched TIRUS-1. Then in 1974, the geostationary satellites. In 1980 to 83, Indian Space Research Organizations contributed the INSAT series of satellites, and which became operational in IMD by the end of 83, and in 84, completely operational, which provided every half-an-hour pictures and other data from all the remote corners, not only within the country, from the entire globe. And that was a major breakthrough for continuous monitoring and detection of all types of severe weather events.
Tell us how India Meteorology Department is now being, hosted, and they're providing information to the world.
Yeah, it has been a global achievement. India has been recognized as a global leader. It is mainly because of three reasons. One is the science innovation. As I explained to you, there are many science innovation from India Meteorology Department contributing to the global science of meteorology. Second one has been technology innovation. I just remember the India hut. In the very preliminary era, India hut, that is a chamber where you will put the thermometer to record the temperature of the day. And from that day, now you have come up with thermistors and satellite-based temperature measurements, etc. So that is the process by which India has contributed towards the innovation of the technology. We have come with radar technology. Everywhere there is an indigenous development in the line with Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now,
we're going to get you some special stories from Ayodhya ahead of the grand opening of the Ram Temple on the 22nd of this month. In the United States, more than 200 Indian-American Tesla car owners held a unique musical show in a Maryland suburb of Washington, D.C. Event was organized to commemorate the Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha ceremony. Makar Sankranti, an Hindu festival being celebrated on Monday, marking the transition of sun into the zodiac sign of Capricorn, known as Makar in Sanskrit. This auspicious occasion, synonymous with harvest, kite flying and cultural festivities, resonates with vibrant traditions that vary across India. The festival carries profound spiritual significance. The shift of the sun symbolizes a journey towards enlightenment and spiritual awakening. Devotees view this transition as an opportune moment to rid themselves of negativity, embracing positivity and divine blessings. Astronomically, the festival focuses on the movement of the sun from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere and the fact that post-Sankranti, the days finally get longer and the chilly winters are almost about to end. On the auspicious occasion of Makar Sankranti, devotees took a holy dip in river Ganga. Taking the dip in the holy river Ganga is considered sacred on this day. Makar Sankranti is a festival in which devotees make offerings to the sun god. The day marks the first day of the sun's transit, making the end of the month with the winter solstice and the start of longer days. On the occasion of Makar Sankranti, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi performed Gorakhnath Temple in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh lit up beautifully on the occasion of Makar Sankranti. The temple also organized a fair on the occasion of the festival, where devotees from across the nation participated in the 15-day-long annual fair. Moving on to cricket, half-centuries from Yashasvi Jaiswal and Shivam Dube helped India beat Afghanistan by 6 wickets in the second T20 in Indore. Then Men in Blue have taken an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 3-match series. Batting first, Afghanistan rode on Gulbuddin Neb's 57 of 35 before India applied the brakes. But a late assault from Karim Janat and Mujibur Rahman, who scored a 41 of 19, lifted the visitors to 172. During the chase, Fazal Faruqi bowled Rohit Sharma for a first ball duck. Rohit went without scoring in the first T20 as well. Though Virat Kohli also looked to attack right away, he was a lot more successful than his captain, scoring 29 of 16. Though the stars of the match were Yashasvi Jaiswal and Shivam Dube, Jaiswal reached his 50 of 27 and Dube of 22 as both tried to send every possible delivery to the boundary. The Indian women's hockey team outplayed New Zealand to secure a sensational 3-1 win in the second Pool B match in the FIH Hockey Olympic qualifiers. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. We're going to be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Anil Thomas. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.